Introducing the Chart Guy's Swing Report, a weekly digital publication that uses technical analysis to identify long-term market opportunities. Understand the market from a swing trade perspective. Follow institutional money as it rotates from sector to sector, and make the most of the Swing Report's weekly trade opportunities, with key entry and exit levels provided. Performance is tracked and updated weekly. For more information, visit us at chartguys.com. Now, let's check out some charts.
Hey traders, checking in on the stock market today. Notable weekday after starting the morning at all-time highs. A lot of profit taking, but most notably, all three of our major sectors grinding at the low of the day at the same time, all correlated to each other, all inversely correlated to the dollar. Let's see if the bears have follow-through after a significantly controlled day. I hope you all had a good new year and a long holiday week heading into 2021. I personally was planning on putting out a New Year's resolution video, and then I tore my hamstring in the final few hours of 2020. Laying out for a frisbee, caught it, hurt my leg. So I'll get that out eventually. It'll be a little bit late for the new year, but there'll still be some good information in there. Other than that, let's check out this drop. So S&P 500 futures chart right now, the most important support is this low of 3608. We have a lot of space where we can hold that level, and we know one bear day does not mean anything. If we see follow through tomorrow and the same kind of setup, it's going to be very notable to us because, again, there's a lot of rising wedges out there, and however you tweak these trend lines, you could definitely draw things so that we are still within those rising wedges and breaking bearish today. Now, the question is, do we get follow through? Because we are still in daily uptrends at this point. If you look at SPY, this was just absolute complete control. We'll zoom in a second, but it's 362.03 as support. We dropped down to 364.82 today. So essentially, we have to confirm an hourly downtrend, hourly bounce into the end of the day. We have to set that lower high, break support tomorrow, and break 362 if we're going to say, yep, this time it's different. And the most significant weekly consolidation that we've seen in a couple months will be underway if these daily support levels break. So tomorrow's pretty important to see whether these bears follow through or not. The 5-minute time frame was just absolute bear control. And we had a drop, 5-minute lower high, lower low, and just smashed it on the way down. If you look at this chart and you compare it to the dollar, we were tick for tick inverse to the dollar pretty much from here at the open. Look at this bounce attempt at 10 into 11, and you look at SPY, what was happening 10 into 11? Right here, this bounce attempt rolled over as the dollar saw continuation, and then that correlation broke when SPY set a 5-minute higher low. So SPY held the low of the day, changed the 5-minute trend, decent bounce follow through, but right there is where the correlation changed. Everything before that, inverse to the dollar to the T. And the biggest difference was we did not see the metals nor crypto react as significantly as the broader market did to the dollar bounce. So we'll get to the dollar in a bit. But overnight, the question is, are we just setting an hourly lower high? I mean, so many times we've been trained in this market where we see this happen and we just expect a higher open tomorrow. And that's entirely possible. And if we get it, then we watch for the hourly equilibrium. But if we don't, we have to be watching for, is this time different? And we have our checklist for bears. We had number one, the checklist of all three major sectors at the low of the day at the same time for hours today. Number two, checklist. Bears want to see oil break support. We'll look at that in just a second. Bears want to see high volume, decent volume today. And then at the end of the day, we had a big 5-minute volume candle that significantly contributed to that volume total. Tomorrow's going to be very interesting to see whether we start the year off with weakness and weekly consolidation. IWM, again, look at the bear volume. Initial pullback, sideways trading, another leg down. Notable bear volume the last 5 days. Short-term support of 191.48 broke. So technically we have lost the daily higher lows. We have lost the daily EMA 12. And we are seeing weekly consolidation. We have not seen weekly consolidation in IWM for 2.5 months. That is changing. So weekly consolidation underway. Tons of space for a weekly higher low, but not a ton of support established on the way up. there are a few levels to be looking at. And we'll be watching weekly EMA 12 if that were to come into play as well. QQQ, all-time high first thing this morning, but then dropping significantly. Most important support for me is 303.60. We came real close to that level today, but it's holding. Hourly, do we see bounce follow through and open higher overnight to set up the equilibrium? Or do we open lower and set up the possibility of an hourly bear flag? Again, all bears have to break the low of today, tomorrow to try and see follow through. Because again, one day is not enough. We've seen some one-day bear days, some little pullbacks with just no follow through. So is this going to be another one-off and then we fade back to the all-time high? Or is it multiple days, multiple pullback days on big volume? Tomorrow will be telling. XLF, higher open, weak close, but a lot of space where we have a short-term support of 28.96. The most important level for me is 28.32. So still in a daily uptrend at this point, whereas some of our other names have lost those daily higher lows. XLV, rejecting from the all-time high, significant dip buying here. This hourly bounce is stronger than QQQ and XLF. So the odds of at least shaping up an hourly equilibrium are a bit higher here because of the size of the bounce. But same thing, if we break the low of today, it's going to be a weekly equilibrium bull break straight into a pullback, which will be a bit of a red flag. Weekly higher low of support is 109.37. Biotech sector held on fairly well. It's been a lot weaker already. Bears seemed to be a bit out of steam in the biotech sector as far as not getting any follow through. But I'm watching the pattern of a lower high every day, and bulls need to break that pattern to see a bounce take place. But even when we do, we will just be watching for a daily lower high. Meant to change these wicks. I did. I guess it didn't save. Some comments about the wicks not being easy to see, so I did change the color, and hopefully that's going to help. For the next video, I'll get that set up. But essentially, it just makes them stand out a little bit better. I can't make them any wider. SMH, bull break of a tightening daily equilibrium and a lack of follow through. If we were to drop down and break to 1192 from here, we would lose the daily uptrend. Again, bull breaks with no follow through, certainly red flags. Hourly bounce is weak. It's a potential bear flag. Look at these semiconductors today. They started the day on fire and then just dumped. Big upper wick on AMD, a potential head and shoulders. MU, big profit taking day. NVDA finally was shifting momentum. Huge upper wick and drop back down into the range where we came from. So semiconductors have been really strong, but this is a bull break, and that instantly gives us red flags. That instantly has bulls cautious. Even if we don't lose the daily uptrend, we know that a bull break and a weak close means be cautious. Tan was green today. High was up at 107.33, and we broke that. Little bit of weakness here, not immune to the market pullback, but certainly holding on a lot better. And it was notable today, the marijuana sector, the electric vehicle sector, and the solar sector were all green. To me, that shows me the market is starting to price in the possibility of Democrats winning both Senate seats and then controlling the Senate, which would mean more changes, more significant changes taking place in the business landscape and in the political landscape overall if the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the White House. If the Republicans win, we have a lot more gridlock. So it was very notable to me. I mean, the MJ sector was up 5 to 10% while the market was dumping. And the electric vehicle sector was extremely strong. So you're going to see headlines attributing today's market weakness. You know, I never look for reasons. I don't care the reasons. We haven't consolidated in 2 months in any meaningful way. We're overextended to the upside. There's a lot of rising wedges out there. Those are all reasons for the pullback. But seeing those individual sectors being the ones that were standing out very strong, it would make sense to me that it was perhaps the S&P 500 pricing in the potential of a Democrat-controlled Senate. We'll have to see Tuesday, tomorrow, after hours, how the votes come in, keeping in mind that both seats have to be won, which makes it a little bit less than a 50-50% chance. It's going to be interesting. The VIX with a big bull move today, 3150, key level, and follow through. Do the SPY bears and market bears see follow through to allow for the first follow through move in the VIX here? We haven't really seen any follow through since the end of October. Seen little one-off bull moves, but lacking the follow through. Let's see if we get it tomorrow. Dollar. So I've said it many times. I'm going to say it again. I just cannot be as bearish as everybody else. I know it's unprecedented times. I know how much money we have printed in the last 10 months. But everybody is looking bearish. Shorts keep increasing. And it just feels really heavy on one side of the boat. So I'm pretty confident the dollar is going to short squeeze. I just have no idea when. Could we see another leg down to 85 before that happens? Yes, absolutely. But I just want to continue to remind you to not be surprised if it happens. Expect it. Have a plan. What are you going to do if the dollar short squeezes back up into the $92, $93 range? Stocks see a significant pullback on weekly time frames. Do you have a game plan for that scenario? And the answer should definitely be yes. I will be looking to buy dips on weekly higher lows in the market, but I will also be looking to protect any long-term exposure. And we had a bear break today with a lack of follow-through. I am watching this 4-hour rising or falling wedge. I could make it a little bit tighter here. This is the chart for the week on the dollar. If we set a 4-hour lower high here and pull back, that would likely help the market bounce a little bit. But if this breaks bullish, have to keep a close eye. The metals bulls are loving the fact that the market pulled back significantly with the dollar, and the metals could have cared less that the dollar was bouncing. So that's one thing that has kept me hesitant from entering the metals, even though I did enter them in my IRA. Maybe it was last week, if not, then 2 weeks ago. Always with the dollar, potential bounce in the back of my mind. But seeing today's action alleviates that concern a little bit, because gold and silver had a great start to the month. Breaking out of our daily sideways range, 1966 is resistance from here, monthly higher low set. And again, that is what my trade is based off of. This monthly support being our higher low, EMA 12 support, and trying to make our way back to the all-time high. The question that we have from here on the metals and the miners, do we see continuation, or do we see a tightening monthly range into the middle of 2021? That's a possibility as well. You know, gold could go up to 20,000, 2,000, and then pull back for a monthly higher low back down towards the mid 18,000s, 1800s. That's a possibility. So those are the two more likely scenarios. Could we confirm a monthly downtrend? That's a possible scenario as well. In my opinion, that's the least likely of the scenarios, but I've got my stop loss just in case. Silver's the same thing. Bull move over 27.41. 27.63 is the next level. And again, monthly higher low is set. Can we see continuation, or do we set a monthly high, a monthly lower high, and see a tightening range? Miners, convincing break of 37.64. Look at the volume. Notable. Monthly higher low is set on miners. Inside bar bull break. Can we break 45.78 from here, which is 20% away, or do we see a monthly tightening range? Most important monthly supports are very clear. Those are going to be important supports for the rest of the year on metals and miners. If those levels are lost in 2021, bulls will lose their mojo as far as the mojo that they have had since March lows. Oil weakness, bull break with no follow through, closing at the low of the day. If 46.16 breaks, that is notable. Weekly consolidation is underway for the first time in over 2 months. We had a pattern of a higher low every week that has now broken. Tons of space for a weekly higher low, but again, that's another one of those check marks for broader market bears to want to have everything in their favor. They want that dollar to break bullish out of that 4-hour falling wedge. They want more days of high volume, all three sectors at the low of the day at the same time. They want oil to lose the daily higher lows, see further weekly consolidation. A fear headline would help for the narrative as well. So bulls definitely being protective up here of any long-term exposure, and bears watching to potentially get aggressive. Natural gas. So again, we had a 4-hour bear flag confirm with zero follow-through, which marked our bottom, and we've seen a very significant bounce since then. Anything under 277 is a daily lower high. For anyone not in a position that wants a bullish position, they want to see a daily lower high. They want to enter on a higher low, playing off of 226, where a patient bull is going to wait for a confirmed daily trend change to set a monthly higher low. But we're back to creating space for a daily higher low to try and form. And natural gas is going to get interesting, later January. If we set this lower high, could tighten up for another 2 weeks, and then we would look for that break. So for me today, I did make a SPY bounce attempt, and I stopped out. And I didn't want to stop out, but in hindsight, I'm really glad that I did. So it was an oversold bounce. The 5-minute RSI was crushed, and it was just making a play for short-term bounce. And I'm trying to find where it was. But it was in the morning here, and I made an entry. It was here. And it was just one entry and saying, okay, let's see if we can get a bounce going. And it stood out as unusual to me that we were seeing this slow pullback. It wasn't a waterfall. It wasn't a fast drop. It was slow. It was contained, and the bears had complete control. So I did not want to stop out at 372 with 5-minute RSI that's crushed, but I was getting all kinds of red flags in my brain. This is an unusual day. This morning is not like other mornings. We are not seeing short-term crushed RSI levels cool off, and that forced me to stick to my stop level. And obviously, in hindsight, flipping bearish would have been great, but I've also been way out of my routine today with crypto messing up my sleep schedule, and then Slack with our chat room community went down, and I had to do an extra live stream on YouTube, and I was just out of my element. So I decided to sit on my hands because it clearly wasn't my day, but ended up with a loss. Entry was 372.60s. Stop out on a 372 break. No big deal. Third of a day loser on that trade. Other than that, still keeping an eye on Fubo that the bears have absolute complete control over. But again, I'm just fascinated watching the bid and the ask and watching the battle go on and watching for the attempts to shift momentum and put pressure on shorts, watching the shorts play defense really well. I mean, they had complete control of this name all day today until about 2 p.m., but even then, just a fairly weak bounce that could be an hourly bear flag. So I'm keeping a close eye on this one just because it is an absolute waterfall, but being very, very picky, and this one is more for educational purposes for me at this point. Fascinated watching the price action. Other than that, had some crypto trades. I'm supposed to be doing the crypto video right now. Oops. We'll do it next. So I hope you had a good new year. Don't forget to do good things in 2021. I'll play out that New Year's resolution video eventually, ideally this coming weekend. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. I've got no content. I've been couch ridden. We'll recycle some older content.
On you.